Hey, I'm Ben. I'm going to demonstrate some of the new features that we've added in Mixbus for the Tascam US-2400 control surface. I'll just quickly go through some of the features. Of course, this has 24 motorized faders that you can assign to the channels. There's a master bus, which controls the master fader. I can select that here, and it pulls it up in the editor. I can select any channel, and it assigns the knobs for that channel. And so this gives me the input trim, the left-right pan, compressor threshold, compressor attack and release speed, compressor mode, the compressor makeup gain, and then the high-pass filter and the low-pass filter frequencies. The next set of 8 knobs are the EQ bands. So we have the low frequency and low gain, and then low mid frequency and gain, high mid frequency and gain, and then high frequency and gain. And those controls are for the Mixbus 32C. They change slightly if you have regular Mixbus. And then we have the 8 Mixbus sends right across the knob. So that gives you 8 Mixbus level controls, and you'll notice that when I adjust the Mixbus knobs, it automatically turns on the Mixbus that it's being sent to. So I don't trick myself into thinking I'm sending when I'm not. And of course we have mute controls, and we can solo channels. And then there's a clear solo button. You'll notice a button labeled flip, and if I select flip, the faders switch to show me the 12 mix buses instead of the channels. So now I can just ride the faders on my groups. And if I select a mix bus, then I get the same input and compressor controls, and then the simplified EQ controls. Now there are a couple other cool features. Of course, there's a transport section, so I can roll the transport. There's a jog wheel that I can move around with. And as I'm rolling, I can mark my in and out points so that I can make edits. And then I've got a master record arm to punch in on my recording. Now the Tascam has a couple of modes that are specific to it. One of them is metering mode. So I'm going to take us out of flip mode and show my channels again. And if I switch to meter mode and roll, you see that the meters are displayed in place of the knob positions. And there's also a special mode called Chan, and this turns the 24 knobs across the top into generic MIDI knobs. And if you have a MIDI instrument or a MIDI plugin that accepts generic MIDI, you can map this as a separate MIDI port to control that device, and it's completely independent of all the other features. It's just a special mode that turns these into generic MIDI knobs. So that's a little unusual, but cool. You can access function keys by holding the F key and then clicking one of these 6 function key buttons. And finally we come to the joystick. The joystick gives us sort of a, we decided to implement sort of a pseudo surround sound mode. So in Mixbuses 11 and 12, you'll notice when I adjust this, let me select a channel here. When I adjust the joystick, you'll see Mixbus 11 and 12, they're crossfading between the level from Mixbus 11 to 12, and then they're also balancing left and right. And that gives us sort of a pseudo surround sound mode. What that allows us to do is set up the 11 Mixbus as a close reverb and 12 as a far away reverb, and then you can crossfade from the close to the far away. So it's a fairly full-featured little control surface. Unfortunately, they're not made anymore, but it shows some of the really cool things you can do with Mixbus. It acts more like a console because Mixbus has a built-in compressor and input trim and EQ and Mixbus sends, and so everything lays out very sensibly like it would if it were on a real console. You're welcome to check this out. This is in Mixbus version 4.3, which is a free update to our Mixbus 4 users. And I look forward to talking to you again.